11th anniversary film for the SYMEF amplifier honors people who heeded the call and the excellent amplifier. This is the first video in a series. The sound is very transparent. It brings out the best of recordings, especially of female vocals. I compared it to my AV receiver and I am impressed with the sound. It seems more natural and the music is more alive. The amp is completely silent. With no input signal, there is no hum or hiss with my ears directly on the tweeters. I used a 500-watt switch mode power supply with additional 20 microfarad capacitors and I am very happy with it. Yes, when I played the opening note by Lee Ritenour, I nearly passed out. The bass notes hit me square in the gut. I'd been experimenting with the amp for a while. The upper portions don't seem to have the original abrasiveness. A little burn in time, I think, only gorgeous music. Throughout my tenure with hi-fi, I have tested numerous amplifiers. Perhaps for the first time among the transistor amplifiers I've tested, this one really grips the woofers and is dramatic even at extremely low volumes. I compare it to my fantastic 300B tube amp, but it has a lot more power and muscle. I'm now using it with a 12B4A tube preamp of my own design. I have never experienced anything better than this harmony. Nicely done. Everything powered on effortlessly, with a great soundstage that was fairly comparable to my Leech setup but had more bottom punch. In spite of the sloppy wiring used during the test and the relatively silent turn-on and turn-off operation, there was no hum issue. To you, Harrison, and to all of you, a Happy New Year. Even though I've been making amplifiers for a while, this is the first design I've tried in this topic. The SYMEF amp is excellent. As Harrison stated, it should be enjoyable, therefore I've been listening at a loud volume with only the DVD and the amp. The highs are gentle but crisp, and they complement the mids effectively. Particularly, the guitars playing is audible and the low end is there. Despite employing tower speakers. I've already built the basic EF and the preferred BJT design of Sloan and Optimus. No doubt, Harrison's SYMEF can compete with other amplifiers. I didn't exaggerate when I said that I had already heard it. Trimmers should be turned clockwise to set minimal idle current. Should avoid operating the amplifier with only one pair of output transistors. I say this because when I tried to do it the first time, I failed to set the trimmer to the minimum and used just one pair of transistors, which caused me to blow the power transistor and one resistor. And it was purchased at a bargain price, thus it is undoubtedly a fake. I'm still waiting for the transistor delivery from a dependable vendor. In my second attempt, I once again utilized a single-pair Sanken transistor, measured the idle current, which was over 600 MV, and was able to reduce it to roughly 46 MV. The fact that most Sloan amplifiers lack PCB layout and that I want to have a new layout of Optimos using 85V are what really motivates me to create PCB. Yes, I did that with 4 pairs of lateral MOSFETs, and undoubtedly a sizable heatsink is needed. I'm a huge fan of our Sloan and believe that his amplifiers are very difficult to top. But SYMEF disproved my assertion. Engineer Harrison is a genius. As far as I'm aware, the most of the amplifiers here are classified as Class A, B, H, D, and G. Nothing new, indeed. I only have 36 days of vacation left, and I know I need more time to do it. I'm hoping to complete at least 90% of it before I leave. My issue is a transformer. I need a toroidal. My heatsink is divided into 3 sections on each side, therefore I used a L bracket to support it. It must have thermal coupling. I'm still perplexed as to why this amplifier sounds superior to Optimos. Scratch one, I suppose, to my tastes. While SYMEF has extremely good mids and lows with a supply of 50 volts, compared to Optimos' supply of 72 volts, it's possible that SYMEF's triple output is what gives SYMEF its superior mids and lows. It has undoubtedly outperformed my Carver receiver in listening tests. Because the amplifier lacked a volume control, I utilized a Behringer mixer with low, mid, and high controls to regulate the signal's loudness. Since the SYMEF also has high, mid, and low control, I compare it to my Carver. My tower speaker, a Yamaha, now sounds like a large speaker thanks to SYMEF. Even at low volume, the artist's voice has a strong presence, and the bass is excellent. The mids and lows of this amplifier are fantastic. Because of this, it seems extremely natural to me. I appreciate you giving me this amplifier. With this amplifier, I'm extremely happy. I've spent a lot of money, time, and effort on it. My current concerns are with the amp is operating well, and the sound is great. Thanks, Harrison. I adore your SYMEF amplifier right now. It's a priceless find. My dad also likes it. I told him that you are the engineer who was attempting to make a point on this discussion forum. Your method works. Congratulations, ON Audio. We have a winner. It was proven that SYMEF and Goldmund 3 differ from one another. I sat down all evening and played through a ton of my discs. My main system's ability to play nearly all music genres has me quite happy so far. I say nearly because I have had a minor problem while performing classical music. When I perform other genres of music, my soundstage is typically very broad and deep. When I play classical music, the same degree of presence is not present. A minor rawness in the upper treble of my Goldmund 3 has also always bothered me. The sound of the cello and violin is now cleaner since there is more air surrounding them. My opinion is that the orchestra as a whole is expanding. I am happy that I didn't use any advanced or pricey components, which makes me happy overall. I have a direct connection between the amplifier and my PC sound card. I additionally hooked out the input capacitor. The power supply consists of 3 100 nanofarad WEMA MKP10S for each rail and 3 6800 microfarad no-name capacitors. Soft recovery diodes are employed. A small KEF Cresta 10 serves as the speaker, previous series. When I connected the power, the voltage across the 0.22 ohms reached 50 millivolts, so I disconnected the amplifier. The trimmer was fully loaded in the clockwise direction. I chose to connect a 750 ohm resistor in series with the 2 kilo ohm trimmer, and that worked. At 23 millivolts, the bias voltage is stable. It's a fun amplifier with an engaging presentation. The mids are lust, especially in euphonic female voices that are seductive. The bass has excellent control and is clearly defined when it is present. The highs are rich and detailed, you can pick up on the tiniest details and the vocals' articulation, but they are also a little rough. This could very well be a problem with the power supply or noise picked up by the wires. It's the only thing I can truly find fault with, and I don't think the amplifiers are to blame. Aside from that, I believe the amplifier has a stunning presentation and merits far more attention than it currently receives at do-it-yourself audio. It is a fantastic amplifier. Yes, the formula is effective. The majority of the burn-in was finally complete, so I connected it to my Wolfson DAC, Wolfson DCB1, and Astasia speakers. The musicality and overall tonal balance of this amplifier greatly satisfy me. Really excellent rendering of female voice. There is a ton of room between the instrument and the soundstage, which is very wide but may not be as deep as my ML2 or B24. I must say that I find the sound to be really nice. I presently use Pinocchio's SYMEF. It is coupled to a Conrad tube preamp with lossless 16 and 24-bit source files. The Tabason's Mark II speakers are my creation, 3 ways, 2X woofer SB17, mid SB12, tweeter SC6620. At least a few weeks have gone as I listen. This amp is among the best I've heard. My primary amplifier is a MOSFET 5W Class A, 85W per channel 8 ohms clone of the Goldman Mimesis 29 that Pinocchio built. A SYMEF is as transparent as the top position on the spectrum in comparison. I'm genuinely shocked. However, SYMEF is unquestionably higher in the lower register and lower mid-range. I like listening to jazz, classical, folk, and rock music. Not only is the bass strong, but it is also incredibly articulate and precise. Excellent in the lower mid-range, it enables us to appreciate both men's and women's voices. The music that comes out of this amp, whether it is a live performance or a studio recording, is extremely melodious and has little coloring. The auditory image's reality, which is as intense in classical as jazz music, is the cherry on top. The instruments are quite evenly spaced apart, and the image is stable regardless of the volume. There are 3 dimensions to the picture. Thank you, Mr. Harrison, for your superb amplifier. The soundstage closely resembles that of a single-ended tube amplifier and is authentic. This method may easily and powerfully reproduce extremely complicated and minute musical messages. I still find it hard to believe. I've established the bias as you advised, Mr. Harrison, and I appreciate it. Over the course of this past weekend, the amplifier's construction was finally finished. Of course, its performance needs to be justified. The VEED multiplier is quite responsive to heatsink temperature, bias is pretty stable, and there is no indication of any oscillation. Probably need to change the bias after it reached stable state. I measured the response at 1 kHz, 10 kHz, and 10 kHz for sine waves. Square wave edges are smooth and round. My own bookshelf speakers were used to play the music. The sound is simply amazing, to put it simply. The amp only shows its personality in the first song itself, even if I have to listen to it extensively. Vocals are clear and accurate, and the highs are finely detailed. Overall, the audio range is quite well balanced. There are neither loud bass beats or harsh vocals. You don't want to stop listening since it is so good. This amplifier is not being compared in a vacuum. I already built SYMEF and F5, and I also have a few Luxman amplifiers, so I have some excellent amplifiers for comparison. Having said that, this amp sounds excellent and has a broad soundstage and openness. I'm not sure what your secret ingredient is, but it's great. This amp is really captivating to me. I'll acquire a very good case with a larger heatsink and properly arrange the wires to mitigate its loudness. Here is a case of my SYMEF. If you own this amplifier, your music really comes to life. It is such a lovely amplifier to listen to. Although I'm not a good reviewer, here are my thoughts. This amplifier draws you into the music and emphasizes the singer by bringing them directly in front of you. One thing I've noticed is that the speakers sound the way the amplifier wants them to. I know this because when I switch between amps, this amp immediately imparts its personality on the sound. The sound is more or less controlled by the speakers than by other amplifiers, yet this amplifier is unique. Yes, I built both of them. Although I haven't conducted a blind A/B test, I think SYMEF is superior to SYMEF. Both have enormous sound stages, but the singers and strings with SYMEF are incredible. Additionally, SYMEF's bass is sharp and powerful. SYMEF is unquestionably worth a try if you're searching for something superior to SYMEF. Thank you for the present, Mr. Harrison. It is a gift that lasts a lifetime and is always with me. There are many excellent designers in this world who will confuse us. Finally, I made the decision to put this amplifier together. Thank you, sir, for your assistance. The SYMEF only differs in that there includes a potluck component. Yes, this amp is great. Very easily tailored to our tastes. Very easy to hear. Of all types of music, the bass is more than powerful, very clear articulations, the high is very crisp and smooth. Even less so with FLAC when using the MP3 format, 196 kbps. Perhaps you won't believe it, but this is the situation. The final components to be soldered arrived today. I only need to attach the heatsinks and get testing winky face. Although attaching heatsinks to transistors is challenging, the result will be something nice and beneficial for one of my friends. Many thanks, Harrison. Okay, preliminary findings are in, and things seem promising. The fact that the phase lead compensating capacitor, C4, value somehow wound up as a 56 pF component was the fault, in actuality. I apologize for it. That incident makes me feel somewhat embarrassed. The 39 pF capacitors were able to be reinstalled in the designated shunt compensation places. Because I didn't have a value with a tiny enough value, the C4 component location is currently empty. It appears to function perfectly without it, but I'll purchase a good mica capacitor in the right value soon enough. The current HF-3 dB point is at 450 kHz, and the slew rate is at least 12 V/s, if not somewhat higher. I need a stronger square wave generator. I need to adjust the other channel before returning to the listening area to reassess. My previous criticisms of the odd soundstage and the faint treble are probably completely unfounded now. I also discovered my SPICE files, which allowed me to check my earlier simulation errors and the fact that the revised condition largely matches reality and the simulation. It can't be described in words, you have to hear it in person. The audio quality I am powerless to describe how it affects me. I come to life when I turn up this amp. Speaking of Mr. Harrison amp, I feel as though I have been transported into another dimension. The 40 volts are irrelevant. My amp changes into a completely different monster when I run it at 47 volts with 3 outputs. In Montreal, I have several friends that are close to me, and Mr. Harrison was so gracious to give me some boards for them. They are crazier than I am, huh?